We continue our conversation with the Labour Department's Thembinkosi Mkalipi. Now, and one of the things that they have distributed today, SAFTU says, and I found it very interesting, the changes to labour legislation and the minimum wage were all decided undemocratically. They were agreed behind the backs of workers in NEDLEC and were then subjected to manipulation by Labour Department officials, no doubt acting on orders from above. So you're being accused here essentially of, taking orders from your political principles in essence. And if one reads this together with the things that were said about President Cyril Ramaphosa at today's marches, and the point I'm making is that the name of the department is being...
You see, SAFTU is being really, really unfair on this. They understand how government works. The party in government, before the election, they go to policy conference. And in this case, in 2014, before the last election, the ANC, which is a governing party, went to a policy conference and took two resolutions. One, to deal with the stability of the labor market, and two, to investigate the modalities of introducing the minimum wage. That's what the governing party said to the citizens of the country and said, elect us, this is what we are going to do. Now, when now the governing party does that, you're implementing the policies of the governing party and of government. What's wrong with that? That's how democracy works. If they want somebody else to tell a government to implement their policies, those people must win first election. That's how it happens in any democracy. Now, I don't understand this issue that we're being told from above. We're implementing the policies of government, which are government policies, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Now, from what the minister said earlier, the bill won't be implemented just yet. So what's going to happen next?
Well, I mean, the bill...
Now.
The bill is in Parliament. The parliamentary portfolio committee is considering all the input that were given to it, including input by NUMSA and SAFTU on the issues that they are raising. And when they finish that process, there will be a bill voted by Parliament after that process. If that process is finalized, then the bill goes to the NCOP for them to do a concurrence. If that happens, we still have a bill, then we'll have an act, and the president will sign it into law.
So there won't be, in other words, just to be sure, another opportunity for more submissions. Parliament is going to go through what it already has.
Parliament, remember, SAFTU and everybody else have made submission to Parliament. There's no need of any other process now. Parliament must make up their mind and take a decision and consider the information that has been given, the input given by society to it.
But then if we take what the minister had to say, although some people may consider it a bit patronizing for the minister to have said that, or said it the way she did when she said that if they understand or if they don't understand, they should ask the department. That then suggests that she accepts. Let's say we take her on her word, right? We forget for a second what other people said, that's a bit patronizing. That indeed a lot of people didn't understand. And maybe given another opportunity, they can reframe. Or if they were to understand the issues better, then maybe their submissions will change.
No, what the minister meant in what she was saying was that the accusation made by SAFTU on many of these clauses, look, the issue of strike ballot is that they don't understand the proposal put on the table. It's not about the input now. Minister is saying, my department is available. let us come and explain, not to change, we can't change anything, only Parliament can change the bill. But we can explain, first the rationale, we can explain what the amendments are saying, because the issue that they are raising, that the amendments are going to take away the right to strike and all those issues, we disagree with that. And that's the interaction that we would want to have with them, so that they can understand how we see the amendments as they are. And that's what the minister meant. The minister did not mean that we can reopen negotiations on the bill that are in Parliament and change them.
Now, I'm going to ask you like something I asked one economist who was here, because it's one thing, of course, to, blame the unions for not acting rationally or for not having complied and so on. There is a reality, and that reality is our history. Our history, which had where workers were subjected to slave wages. Yes, I got the point you made right at the beginning, that that's what the unions are there to do their work, to push, to use their power, as you put. But do you believe that the responsibility of government should be confined to what we have, in other words, the dispensation we have already now? Or do you not think that perhaps the time has come for you to think beyond what we already have, and, as many people like to say, outside of the box?
But this is what I'm saying, that we're thinking outside the box. That's why we're introducing the minimum wage. We did not have the minimum wage. This is what the Freedom Charter advocated from long time ago. Now we'll have a minimum wage, and who knows what the level of the minimum wage will be. And as part of the agreement in the national minimum wage is that the first responsibility for the Commission is to introduce a mid-target, a target for the country of where should the level, what's the right level of the minimum wage?
Well, that was going to be my next question. How do we know? How do we know that the minimum we're prescribing now is in fact adequate, or is the best we can afford? What is that based on?
This is what I'm explaining. First, it's obvious it's based on research that we've had. And remember, in economics, you project things, and your projection might be incorrect, they might be correct. Now, the Commission, we've asked the Commission that the first thing that they need to do, they must research, analyze the impact of this minimum wage. If the impact is not negative, then the scope going forward. And we've said the next thing that they need to do, they need to set up a target. Where should we be planning to go as a country? What should be the minimum wage in the next 2 or 3 years? And the decision that has been taken is that within the next 3 years, they must give the country a target and say, as a country, this is what we're targeting for as a minimum wage. And therefore, when I say that this is not the end of this process, this is the beginning of this process. If SAFTU want to be part of this process going forward, they've got to make sure that they come into the heart.
After another year or so.
Well, I mean, we can't wait for them until they sort out the issues.
I get that. I'm probably being facetious. But if, the union, let's say COSATU, that agrees with you, that didn't go on strike today. It too says, even like the research that they have seen, suggests that this should be put at a much higher level.
Well, the research that...
So then whose research?
It's the research that we did as government, the research that the panel, remember we all jointly with COSATU appointed independent people who are not COSATU, who are not working for government, and said, look at this is where the different parties are. What's the best level? And that's the recommendation that we've received.
Was that level the best level that could be reached, or was it a consensus level so that everybody can, so to speak, find one another? Now, common ground. There's a difference between what is ideal, or what the country can afford, and what has been agreed to given the needs of the respective constituencies.
The panel said this is a level that, if it introduced, would not have unintended consequences in jobs. And that's what the panel says. And as part of that, going forward, we've got to look very carefully. Is the 20 rand that we've put on, has it uplifted people? As I've said, 46% of workers working in this country earn below 20 rand. Has it uplifted those workers to the level that we think it should be? It comes also on the issue of enforcement. Is the department doing the right thing to enforce the 20 rand to make sure that those workers that want to uplift benefit on that? The next thing that they need to report on is what was the effect of the 20 rand? Did it create? Remember when we increased the wages in the Western Cape on the farms in the Doran strikes from 67 rand to 150? It affected jobs in those sectors. That's the experience that we have in this. Although those job losses recovers after a long time, they've recovered, but it did affect jobs. Now, for us, we're saying, if we can have a minimum wage...
And that was not because of some knee-jerk reaction?
No, it was because of affordability in terms of the farmers themselves. Now, in this case, we don't want the same situation to happen. We don't want to give people 20 rand and give them unemployment. You're not giving them anything if you do that. But we're saying we've got to come together, all of us, and debate the right level. There will never be a level. I mean, I've never seen a situation where every time workers and business agree and say we're happy. Even with the 12,500, if they can get it tomorrow, they will not be happy. But we've got to have a level that will uplift the majority of the marginalized out of poverty. If this 20 rand doesn't do it, let's, going forward, do the right thing and solve those problems.
Mr. Mkalipi, thank you very much for coming through this evening.
Thank you very much.
Thembinkosi Mkalipi from the Labour Department. And that brings us to the end of tonight's edition of As It Happens. My name is Vuya Mvoko.